explanation for. So these precepts refer to the unfoldment of spiritual consciousness, which we call illumination. This is the first great attainment before us on the path. It's important at this stage of the journey, for it takes one from the plane of mere belief or intellectual acquiescence onto the plane where he knows that he is. It does not endow one permanently with universal knowledge, but it gives one that consciousness of real spiritual existence, compared to that which every other experience and knowledge really sinks into nothingness. There is a certain majesty to being in the know. It brings one face to face, perhaps only for a moment, with the real self and the great reality, of which that self is but a part. This state of consciousness is the great prize which is awaiting the efforts of mankind to free itself. Desire only that which is within you, for the Spirit is the only reality, and it is within each of us. As the text says, for within you is the light of the world, the only light that can be shed upon the path. If you are unable to perceive it within you, it is useless to look elsewhere. Anxious seekers after the truth, take this advice and look within yourself for that which you seek, instead of running hither and thither, and after teachers or prophets, seers and leaders, exhausting first one strange teaching and then another. All of this is useful because it teaches us that which is what we seek is not necessarily to be found in this way. You may get a hint here or a suggestion there, but the real thing is right within you, before you, waiting patiently for that hour when you will look for it, confidently and lovingly. Look for the light of the Spirit. Desire only that which is beyond you. It is beyond you because when you reach it, you've lost yourself. It's always just beyond you, and when you become one with it, the old relative self has faded away and a greater, grander you has replaced it. Remember, back to selection one of the selections, before you can become who you will become, you have to give up who you are. Man must lose himself to find himself. In this sense, the great thing to be desired is beyond the today you, although it's within you. It is really yourself as you will be. For example, the child longs for manhood. It's beyond him then, and yet the child is the embryo man, and the elements of manhood are within him, awaiting 1 hour, or the hour of development. But when the child attains manhood, the child's gone. He's lost himself, and a larger self has taken his place. So that the thing for which the child longs for really causes him to lose his child self in its attainment. The butterfly is within the caterpillar, but it is also beyond him. And when he gains it, he's no longer a caterpillar, but a butterfly. Desire only that which is unattainable. This sounds discouraging at first, but when understood, it really gives renewed energy. Because the text goes on to say, it is unattainable because it forever recedes. You may enter the light, but you will never touch the flame as the soul gains in spiritual consciousness. It becomes greater and grander. It's traveling, but the first step in the real journey, and the journey is becoming more and more pleasant as it unfolds. As we climb the mountainside of attainment, the view becomes grander at each step. But the mountaintop, which seems so near at the beginning of the journey, seems constantly to recede as one climbs. And yet there is no disappointment, for every step of the way is now accompanied with the keenest pleasure. It is ever so in soul unfoldment. As step after step is taken, greater heights appear to the view, emerging from the clouds which have surrounded them. There are undreamt of heights. You may and will gain the highest point now visible, that there is as much before you as what you've left behind. Far more, in fact. But all that doesn't disappoint you when you once grasp its significance. As you enter the great light, you become conscious of gradually nearing the great center of light. But although you are fairly bathed in the glorious effulgence, you are not touched by the flame. You are destined to become something so much greater and grander than you are today that your wildest imagination cannot give you the faintest idea of it. And still beyond that state, there are other states and others and others and others. Rejoice in the light, but don't sigh because you are told that you will never touch the flame. Don't worry. You do not begin to realize what the bright light is. That flame is beyond all earthly comprehension.